back to that, I think, sometime. You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game, and we're going to be doing lots of politics and public policy this evening because we have as our guest Cliff Surges. A lot of folks may not have heard of him, but if you're in the 33rd District and you're following Republican primary politics, you know this is a hot race that's going on there because he's running against somebody who's fairly well known, Karen McConaughey, right?
Correct.
She is the Kane County, he is the Kane County.
Sitting Kane County chairman.
Okay, you're taking on somebody who's like a, she's a big, I don't want to say big woman, but I don't know if she's
There's been those suggestions, yes.
Yeah, she's a big power in Illinois politics. There have been suggestions that the Illinois Party, Illinois State GOP, the state GOP is behind her. They're supposed to be neutral in the primary. Is that really the case?
You know, I don't know that I can answer that.
You think they're staying fair? You got a fair shot.
I'm going to report that they're staying fair. Jeff, remember, in all of this, on the 21st, we're all Republicans on this team afterwards.
On the 21st?
That would be March 21st of March, we're all Republicans.
Okay.
Between now and then, we need to get there without scorched earth politics.
But, competition is good. You believe in that, right?
I do.
Patron saint of the consumer. In this case, the patron saint or the consumer, it would be the residents in the Fox Valley area, which is an area you know because you've lived in the Fox Valley area for the last 4 decades?
4 decades.
That's a long time.
That's right.
You're 48. Came there about when you were 8 years old, right?
I did.
You're a mature guy.
Graduate of St. Charles High School, class of '81. Parents live in South Elgin, brother in St. Charles, family in Hampshire and Huntley. And my wife and I moved to Gilbert's, which is smack center in the middle of the district, back in 1990, and that's where we've raised our family.
Is this an agricultural area?
50-50. Right through the heart is the Fox River Valley, which is residential. As you move west toward Route 47, it does become more agricultural.
So tell me this. I mean, people are watching this and they're wondering, why should I watch this show, especially if they live outside the 33rd, because that's a local thing. But, the issues that affect people in the 33rd are pretty much the issues that affect people across the state of Illinois.
Everywhere.
And indeed, the issues that affect people across the state of Illinois are the issues that affect people across the United States. And even to some extent, the issues that affect people across the United States affect people around the world. France in a sense, is like the Fox Valley, right?
Illinois is in worse condition than most of the places out there. Yes,
you think?
Sir. I absolutely believe that.
Well, not many of them, but not most. The whole world? We're better than India, right? Well, actually, India's doing pretty well.
If you're going to go to that extreme, sure.
Yeah. Okay. But seriously, a lot of the issues are the same. It's across Illinois. First issue that comes up, I think, that people think about is jobs and the economy. Mm-hmm. Is the economy, and has there been a recovery? Has there been a national recovery? And is Illinois recovering as a result of being a part of
I don't believe so. I believe that our surrounding competitors, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, are still pulling employers from Illinois to their states. I believe that we are not in a competitive situation or in a competitive position.
Why? What's wrong with this? What could we do to be more competitive?
Yeah, you know what? That would be the first study that I would love to look at, is to say, if we're going to peel back this onion and we're going to take and do a comparison.
You think we have to do a study?
Oh, I do. Oh, I absolutely do.
Well, let me ask you this now. Some people, the folks at the Illinois Policy Institute?
I do.
John Tillman. They've looked at this.
Bessler,
they looked at what happened. So income tax increase. There was an income tax increase earlier last year,
Absolutely.
About a year ago.
Yep.
Went into effect. It's been in effect for a year. And how many jobs did the state of Illinois lose in that period? 90,000, 100,000?
Too many.
Would you say there's a correlation there?
Absolutely.
Okay. So do we have to do a study? Tillman would say,
here's what we do.
Repeal the increase in the income tax from 5% to 3%.
First thing.
You would vote for that?
Yes.
Repeal the increase in the corporate income tax?
Without a hesitation.
Okay.
We need more taxpayers, not more taxes.
Okay. And
it's pretty simple.
How do you get more taxpayers?
Well, right now,
get more jobs, right?
We do need to get more jobs, but we need to get those corporations. First, we need to plug the hole in the boat and stop these businesses from leaving before we can even begin attracting new businesses.
Well, didn't they do that? Didn't the legislature just make an offer they couldn't refuse, essentially, to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group?
But you know what? So you made one offer to the Merck, you made one offer to Sears, you made one offer to Motorola.
Really? Those are really substantial. They have a lot of employment. You keep those 3 companies here. Wouldn't you say that's a good thing?
I think that could be a start, but I don't know how making special offers brings in mass.
You mean there are smaller companies that are stuck with paying the higher tax that these guys got away without
Absolutely.
paying so much?
And that's at a state legislative level, that's at the governor's level, and that needs to be fixed.
So you're telling people as you walk around on the 33rd, vote for you, you'll do what you can to lower the income tax, lower the corporate tax back to the old level.
I don't think there'd be a hesitation there.
And your competitor on this is what, Karen McConaughey, right?
Correct.
She's running the Republican primary?
She is.
You must have seen her. She's saying the same thing. She'll try to lower the corporate income tax. She'll try to lower the individual tax.
Karen, this is an age-old battle that's going on right now. This is the establishment versus the non-career politician.
All right, so you would be the
small
establishment. You would be the
business
establishment,
owner.
and Karen would be.
Not at all.
Oh,
She
it's
is
the other way around?
establishment.
Karen's the establishment.
She is the establishment.
Really?
And I am the non-career politician, small business owner looking at this. And when we look at these jobs,
You're a small
in Illinois-
business owner. What's your small business?
You know what? My wife and I opened an American Family Insurance Agency back in 1990. Back in '93. We were an award-winning agency. We do a good job with offices in both Chicago and the
No, but
suburbs.
what's Karen's background? Do you know?
You know what?
I mean, did she have a business background? Has she been running a small business?
She is not. She does not. But
She,
I
she
don't
runs,
know
she
that
runs a small government, King County?
She does. My
No,
understanding
you could
is
say she's got leadership there. She knows how to get things done in government. She's got friends. Would you say, do you know
I
Pat
think that
Brady?
I think we
Pat
could
Brady's
say we
the
have
state GOP
flaws
chairman.
in leadership. We have poor leadership.
Do you know Pat Brady?
I've never met Pat Brady.
Who
no.
is Pat Brady?
Pat Brady is ran for governor here. Ran for.
That was Bill Brady.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Pat Brady is the state GOP.
You have me stumbling.
He's the state GOP chairman, right?
Correct. And
Do you know,
establishment.
do you know Pat? Have you met him?
I'm not. No, I'm
never
saying
shook his hands.
I've never shook his hand.
Now, some people say that Pat's tacitly supporting your opponent. What do you say?
I would say that that's probably accurate.
Because
My
she's got the establishment support.
She
and
does
want-
have the establishment, and
Why would they prefer her to you?
I think that, and if you slow down a little minute and let me answer one of these, we're going to get right to it.
You think?
I do. I believe that, this is my feelings here in Illinois, that the Democrats control this, we all know that. But they've given their small share of the pie to the Republican establishment, who is very content with controlling that. I don't believe that we've done, as Republicans, a good job at working on behalf of the residents here in Illinois. That's the single biggest problem. The reform group that's coming in has said, establishment, you haven't done enough. You are complacent. You are satisfied with what you have, and that's just simply not good enough. And with Brady coming in, my understanding is there is actually
Which Brady?
Bill Brady.
Bill Brady, the guy who ran for governor? I'm
No,
confused.
you're tripping me up again.
Pat Brady.
Pat Brady.
Okay, he's the state GOP chairman.
State GOP chairman Pat Brady is now come out and is backing the new, or the person running for, the candidate for the Kane County chair to replace McConaughey. Senator Lawson, who is stepping down and coming in to also be a candidate for the chair. I don't understand how
They're backing somebody- okay.
a party leadership that's supposed to stay neutral throughout this. I don't understand how Brady comes in and says, we're going to favor this candidate against this candidate. That's not staying neutral.
Now, now I'm getting myself confused, we've had Pat Brady here.
Yeah, you see,
recently,
you're gonna-
state GOP chairman. He seems like a nice enough guy. He doesn't seem like
I've
a
never
sneaky guy.
met him.
Why don't you call him up and say, are the rumors true, Pat? And say, just get it out on the table.
The
man.
rumors are more than true.
You're
I mean,
sure? You're sure he's backing Chris Lawson's opponent for King County chair?
I'm sure of that, yes.
And you're sure
And I don't
that-
think it's
And you're sure
appropriate.
he's backing, that Pat Brady, state GOP chairman, is backing your opponent, Karen McConaughey?
I did not say that. I
That
said
you're not sure, just
That I'm
rumors.
not sure of.
Call him up and get it on the table.
That-
Ask him.
that would
Have
be
you
an
called
inter-
him?
I have not called him.
Why not
no.
call him?
That's a
I
good
mean,
idea.
You're a mature guy. He's a mature guy.
That's a good idea.
He's not going to shoot you, right?
I'll be honest with you. I've really stayed away
I
from.
mean, he's not like mob related, right? You're
I
not saying
understand
that.
that.
no.
I understand that.
You can
I've
talk.
really stayed away from the establishment. I've really stayed away from special interest groups, from lobbyists. We've not turned to the large political action committees to try and fund this. If you're going to go in as a reformer, and if you're going to be the non-politician that doesn't know all the
Are
insides.
you like Occupy Wall Street? Because those guys are
No,
reformers,
no,
aren't
I-
they? They're the bottom two. They're the bottom 98%.
I wouldn't
Would you say
classify
you're the
that.
bottom 98%?
I would not at all.
You're the top 2%?
I'm not saying I'm the top 2%.
You don't
I'm
think those are
saying
useful classifications?
I am middle America. I am a
You're not
working-
Occupy Wall Street. Those
I
are
am not
somebody else.
Occupy. No, I'm
You're a
not.
different sort of reform.
I'm
You're,
a different
You're
sort
the
of
Dan
reform.
Proft reform.
I would categorize that, absolutely.
So when somebody says, who sent you, you would say Dan Proft sent you?
Well, Dan and I have met several times and spoken, and
You're in agreement?
I'm in agreement. I think Dan is a good guy.
Did
I
you
think Matt
support him when
Besser's
he
a
ran
good
for
guy.
governor?
I did not.
Who did you support? When
I don't know that.
Did you support anybody for
I
governor?
don't know that I did at that time. No,
You-
I
you
did.
were not that
and I
interested
did
in-
not know Dan Proft at that time.
Now you do.
I do now. Well,
Is that
I
because he
think
does
through-
the WLS radio show? Do you
No,
listen to
I
that
think
WLS radio
through
show?
the process that you begin to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, you meet a great many people. And you have to vet those people that you believe in and you don't
Have you met
believe in.
George Ryan?
I have not.
Well, he's in prison now, right?
I have not met George Ryan ever.
Yeah. Rod Blagojevich, have you met him?
I have not
He's on
met
his way
Rod.
to
I have
prison.
not met Rod Blagojevich either.
So you're not sent here by either George Ryan or Rod Blagojevich?
I am not sent here by anybody. I'll
You're
tell
your
you,
own man.
I'm my own man. This is really simple. But I'm on my
Is
own.
Is Karen McConaughey, you're saying, not her own woman? Is that what you're saying?
I believe she is establishment, true blue. I do not believe she's her own woman.
So who
I believe that
who does
her
she
and-
owe her allegiance to? Who's
and-
pulling the strings on Karen McConaughey? And
I
I'm not
think-
saying that, but that's what you're saying. Somebody's pulling the strings on Karen McConaughey, and you don't think that's right. You think the voters are entitled to have somebody there representing them.
I
You're making that
believe, this is
accusation,
what I
right?
believe specifically. I believe that if you do the same old thing the same old way, why would you ever expect different results? Whether it's Christine Radogno, whether it's Karen McConaughey, those are the same pegs going into the same holes.
Really?
So
So you're saying so Christine Radogno is against you too, and she's supporting.
I'm not saying
Karen
she's
McConaughey.
against me. I'm
But she's
saying
for
that
Karen.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Chris is the Senate Republican leader, right?
Christine, yes.
Yeah, Christine. Sorry, I call her Chris, but yeah.
I've never met her.
Yeah, I did meet her. She used to be on the show. We haven't seen her so much lately. But you're saying that Chris Radogno, Senate Republican leader, is sort of a bought, woman. I mean, she's being controlled by others, and now she's controlling them.
I'm saying that once you've been there long enough, that the status quo becomes acceptable.
And
unfortunately, it's not in Illinois any longer. We're in trouble here. We're in big trouble.
We can't continue. You're saying the Republican leaders are continuing to accept breadcrumbs as table crumbs, as Dan Proft would put it,
That is
from the Democrats, right?
That is eloquent. Yes.
Okay, and you're not going to do that.
I'm not going to do it at all.
And so when somebody gives you some of these table crumbs and says, if you win, and they say, well, next time around we'll give you the support, just do as we say. What are you going to tell? What are you going to tell Chris Radogno if she says that to you?
So far, we haven't had that opportunity. I think people know who I am. We're trying to do what's right. We're trying to stand up and say, stop the red team versus the blue team, and start looking at what's right for the residents of Illinois. That's where we're at.
And that's what tax cuts are about. You'd like to see those cuts in the income tax and corporate income tax.
Well, no, I believe that I don't just want to broad brush that. I believe that those tax cuts are crucial to getting back to the core reasons why businesses either stay, leave, or come to an area. Stability, certainty, trust in their government, the public trust. That's gone. It's eroded. And here in Illinois, I don't know the businessmen the fellow businessmen that I speak with. Do we have the resources here in Illinois? Do we have transportation? Do we have people? We absolutely do. Do we have certainty in our government? No, we don't. Are we competitive against other states? No, we're not. Okay, if we have the people, we have the transportation, we have the resources, how do we get back the public trust? How do we get back certainty and stability? Raising those taxes is not the way to do it.
Cutting taxes is the way to do it. That's what you're saying.
I believe so. Well, let's get them back to where they were
But
first.
cutting
and
them for
hold
the
them
current-
stable.
When I say cutting them, we raise the income tax. Let's be specific here. Individual income tax from 3% to 5%.
Okay.
And when I say cutting them, I mean cutting back to the prior level, 5% to 3%.
Then we're on the same page.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's a hint. I mean, I'm not supporting anybody. I don't endorse people. But you might want to tell people when you want to cut taxes, you're trying to cut taxes. Because if you say, all I want to do is take it back to the old level.
We want to cut and roll them back.
yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah,
The
okay.
stability and
Roll back.
certainty
That's-
and public
they'll get
trust
that.
needs to be there. Roll it back.
And when they say
Something
to
like
you,
Walmart
when
at
you're
this
not,
point,
when
that's-
you're knocking on somebody's door, you're going out knocking. What do they
Yeah.
call it? Working the precincts. Right?
Working the precincts.
Okay.
We,
Canvassing the precincts. You do that door to door, right?
We do that door to door. I
when you go up
personally walked for our petition signatures. We were out there every weekend, except for the one weekend we went to go see my son down at Baylor University. But I walked them personally. I knocked on the doors. I spoke with the people. I listened to the residents throughout the entire 33rd District. The 33rd District runs from the northern tip of Batavia, Geneva, through the southern tip of Crystal Lake, right along the Randall Road, Route 47 corridor. That's the district.
You know this district
I know this district.
because you lived there so long. You know the people
I've
there.
lived there. My family is from
You know
there.
the stores there.
The conversation at the dinner table doesn't stray from the district.
Karen must know. Karen McConaughey must know the district. She's probably lived there a long time, right? She's been Kane County chair. You're not gonna argue that she doesn't know the district, are you?
I'm not going to argue that, no.
And
I'm going
don't
to
you
argue
think
that
she's a
she probably
Republican?
hasn't done a good job at the district.
No, but she's a Republican. Don't you think she wants to cut taxes as much as you want to cut taxes?
I think that when we look at situations regarding this candidate versus that candidate in a compare and contrast format, I believe that there's people that do this because this is what they do for a living. They're career politicians. If Senator Lawson has come in and said, I'm going to take the Kane County chair, and Ms. McConaughey is saying, I now need to go get a different job, look, there's a Senate seat available, it's a beautiful transition. Everybody stays on the payroll, everybody, has
Well,
their
you're saying
jobs.
that Chris Lawson's a career politician too?
I'm saying that
he's just
for-
trading places with
No, I think for Chris,
Karen?
I think Chris has put in his 20 years and wants to come closer to home to see if he can make a difference. That's very
That's
different
it.
than somebody who's on the upswing trying to say, where's my next meal
doing-
ticket coming
this
from?
This is the next step up
This is
the
the
government
next
ladder.
step. I am not a politician. I am a small
You're
business
going to
owner.
continue to work at American Family
I am.
Insurance?
I am.
Okay.
I don't believe that the two are mutually.
You're a citizen politician.
I'm,
Ronald Reagan
if
was
that's
a
the way
citizen
you want to look at it,
politician.
absolutely. And I want to put in my time to do what's right. There is not a financial benefit to this for me. There is not a situation where I believe that keeping my agency allows me to look and say, I can vote the right way rather than voting a way I need to just to regain election.
All right. So,
I think that's significant, though. I think that's truly significant.
is the Tea Party supporting you?
You know what? When you look at the simple question, if you're asking, is yes. But I believe that when you look at the Tea Parties, they are very different town to town. Whether I go to the 9/12 meetings in St. Charles, to the Huntley Tea Party that's extremely supportive, to the Crystal Lake area, which isn't quite as organized. We've been to Bartlett, we've been to North Aurora. So in general, absolutely supportive. They're wonderful people,
On average,
especially the people, on average, Huntley,
Because
St.
on
Charles.
average, they don't want the status quo, and you're saying they perceive you as changing the status quo.
You know what? On average,
to
I
your
would like
point.
to characterize it as saying most of these Tea Party people are not politicians either. They're just mom and pop residents.
what do they want? Do they want
and they're
change?
sick of it.
They
They
want
want
change.
change. They want reform.
Okay.
They don't want change. They want reform. And there's a difference.
So what's your motto? Change you can believe in?
I don't think we want to say. My motto
Was that Barack Obama's
My motto is very simple.
Was-
Enough is enough.
Oh, okay.
We have had it with Springfield, and mix no words. You might trip me up on a name or two because I'm not
Well,
immersed
like
in this.
Tony Parecki used to say, have you had enough? It didn't work so well when he ran for Cook County Board President, but that was his motto. Have you had enough? Would you say that's your motto?
No, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Springfield, change has to come. I mean, I think there's people that would look and say, we're 4 years away from bankruptcy in Springfield.
You think?
I think.
Is it basically a pension problem?
I think that there's a couple of key issues. The pension problem is far and away the largest.
These are state employee pensions, right?
All pensions in Illinois.
Well,
I mean,
isn't
state
that more-
employee,
but
teacher unions.
Government.
Government.
We're talking government. We're not talking private sector.
We're talking government pension
Teachers,
programs. Absolutely.
public employees working for the
That is-
state government,
In my opinion, that's the
public employees
single
working for
largest
local
problem.
government. Okay.
Followed by
Basically-
Medicaid, followed by the budget.
And these pensions, they're basically, people have been getting more than they would get in the private sector, and the governments haven't been putting away the money, so basically it's 80 to 90% underfunded, right?
I think there's multiple issues.
What's the solution? Let's go right ahead to the solution.
I think the solution is that you need to look at past, present, and future. And what we've looked at right now, or in recent weeks, we've had great reform regarding what's going to go on from this point forward for new hires.
We've had that reform already? Is that
I think
passed?
that I've not read through everything, but
You think that's passed?
I think that's passed. And I think
The House
that-
and the Senate?
I think that that's solid in what
Do you
they've
think the
done
governor signed that now?
for new hires going from this point forward.
New hires?
For new hires.
What about current, what about current
I'm coming.
employees?
Would you let me finish?
You
here?
only got 10 minutes left.
Okay, so here we go.
This is not a 3-hour
For
long
past
show. you know.
people, I think there's this notion that we are constitutionally obligated to them. I don't think if they're already in the retirement section, that's done. We have to buy our way out of that. But for those present employees right now, I think that we do need to draw a line in the sand and say, what's passed was passed. We have to honor that per the Constitution. But from this day forward, We need to make some reform. It needs to be a cap and age type of
Doesn't that
project.
current employee have an entitlement? The Constitution says you can't cut the pension of that current employee.
And I would
and
suggest,
aren't you doing that? Cutting the
I would
pensions of
suggest to
current
you
employees?
that from this point in line backwards, we can't touch it.
For stuff that's accrued. But
For stuff that's accrued,
for current
we cannot.
employees going forward, stuff that's not accrued, you're saying you can cut those pensions, even though there's some people who say the law doesn't say that, the Constitution prevents it.
I think
you
we-
understand there's a difference of opinion
I
here.
absolutely understand that.
But your opinion is the people who say you can't
My
cut
opinion
it.
is this: just changing for new hires forward isn't going to make a dent in the principal debt.
So you want to test the
We can't
Constitution.
outrun this.
You're willing to test the Constitution, let the state Supreme Court rule, maybe the U.S. Supreme Court, and see if this is constitutional. You
I
want
don't
to do
think
that.
we have a choice.
have to do
What
that.
do you do when you can't pay your bills?
And what does Karen McConaughey say about that?
You know, I don't know what she has to say about that.
Well, you probably talked to her. Did you ever ask
I have
her?
not. You know, I'll be honest with
You
you.
have any forums yet?
Her and I have not had a forum.
Are you going to
yet.
have a forum?
I believe there are several
And
scheduled.
if I said, okay, Karen, would you like to come on this show and face your opponent? You'd be willing to do that?
I'd be more than happy.
You'd take that in a heartbeat.
I'd take that in a heartbeat.
So Karen McConaughey, why don't you come on Public Affairs? We'll have you on at the same time we have Cliff Sturgis, right?
Absolutely.
Karen McConaughey, meet Cliff Sturgis meet Karen McConaughey. I'm fair and balanced. I don't have a dog in this race. I just want to see the issues
I think
discussed.
it'd be great. I think it'd be great.
And then everybody, you know, who couldn't get to see it at forums, they could flick on the TV. We'll put this out there, make sure it airs over in that area in the Fox Valley.
That'd be wonderful.
We could
I think our first
we could call this Hardball 2. I mean, it
Our
could be.
first forum
I could
is
be
January
famous.
20th
You
with the
two could
Daily
make
Herald
me
and,
famous because I'm nothing without Karen McConaughey and Cliff Sturgis. But if I get Cliff and Karen there, and we get a hot show, we could go national. You could go viral.
we could go viral.
Okay.
We'd be happy to do
You'd
it. I think
like-
it's healthy. I think it's healthy. I
Karen,
think
let me know. Call my guy. My guy and your guy will get together for lunch, and they'll work this out. Except I don't have guys, but you can call me directly. We'll have lunch. and
There you
work
go.
out. Okay. Because you don't have anything against Karen personally.
I don't.
She's a nice lady.
She
right?
seems to be. Yes.
You've talked to her, right?
We've met twice.
That's enough. She's
That's
a
it.
nice
That's it.
person.
We've seriously
Okay.
we've met twice.
But on
and,
issues, there's a difference. You're not sure where she stands on the pension issue you want to reform. You're not sure where she stands on the taxes you want to cut, right?
You know what, Jeff? I got to be honest with you.
Or you are sure? You do know?
I don't
mean,
know
tell
that
me.
I care. Is my point.
You don't care. You just
I
want to
don't-
go down there and do something.
I'm
that-
not in this election.
You
to
want
be-
her to get out of your way.
Just get out of the way.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. I mean, I can't be more precise about this. I didn't come
Karen,
into this.
what's Karen going to say? She said, you get out of the way because she's going to be able to go down there. She knows people. She can get the tax cuts passed. She can get the pension
Oh, I
reform.
think it's the same
She's
old,
going to
same
say
old.
she can't.
I think it's the
she
same
said,
old,
you
same
get out
old,
of
and
her
people
way.
are sick of it. That's what I think.
Is that what you think?
That's exactly.
What about education? School voucher, school choice? You'd sign on?
I am a parochial school parent. I believe in the voucher program. I believe in competition to get the best product.
Right now, you pay double in a sense because you send your kids to parochial schools.
I do.
And you pay property
But
taxes, which in large part finance this.
I agree.
You pay others taxes that come from the state that finance it,
I
federal
agree.
taxes. You pay all that and you get pretty much no benefit. People would say, well, other people who don't have kids are like that, but you've got kids, so you've got to finance.
But I want to make sure
You've got to pay double.
and we do.
And you're willing to pay double.
And I'm willing to,
But
because-
wouldn't it be better if we had everybody, not just you, but everybody, people in Chicago who send their kids to the Chicago public schools, and $15,000 is being spent per kid per year. I don't think it's as much in the Fox Valley.
You don't have-
But it might be 9 or 10,000. And so under your
don't have to
system,
convince me.
So under your system, not mine, because you're the guy who's going down
Mm-hmm.
the vote. Under your school voucher, school choice, in Chicago, that $15,000, the parents could take it and spend it at the school of their choice. In the Fox Valley, they could take probably $10,000 and spend it at the school of their
I think
choice.
it's. I'm hearing between 6 and 9, but yes.
You'd improve the quality of education. This man, can we get a Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom? Can we get that focus? Let's see if we can get that on there because, you know, we don't usually promote things or endorse things, but, you know, Milton Friedman was the premier economist, I would say, let me hold it that way. Milton Friedman, the premier economist at the University of Chicago, premier economist, though, for the 20th century. Probably the most influential, I would say, the most prominent, most productive economist in the 20th century. And I would say maybe even as we go toward the 21st century. He came up with the idea, I would say, of school voucher, school choice about 40 years ago. Wrote about it in Capitalism and Freedom. That's what we're holding up here. Because as Milt would say, Uncle Milty as we affectionately called him at the University of Chicago, he would say capitalism and freedom are two sides of the same coin. Okay? And you're about freedom, and you're about capitalism.
Absolutely.
You didn't know Milty, but you support that. Have you read this book?
I've not read this, but I will.
You will. You promise.
I will. I am not an economist. I will
Take
look
this
at
book?
this. I will gladly take this. But I
School
do,
Choice. Have you
but
read
I-
this
but
by
I
Herb
do-
Wahlberg? Have you heard this by Herb Wahlberg?
I've heard it. I have not read it, but I want to make sure that
You
I'm
will.
clear
You will
on
take it
something.
and you will
I will
read it
take that
because
and
he
read
goes
it
through the
and report
findings,
back.
and he says that we had the editorial page editor, Tom McNamee, of the Chicago Sun-Times. He says the findings are not clear on charter schools and school vouchers. You're going to read that book and give Tom a call?
And we'll take a look. But I want to make sure that you're understanding that my choice to go parochial is based on faith, period. It wasn't based on public school versus...
You want your kids to be infused with faith.
Absolutely.
Okay. But you understand that in addition to getting instruction in faith, they also get instruction in reading and writing and math.
Absolutely.
And you understand that there are people who say, not just at parochial schools, but at private schools, where people have the ability to take the money through a school voucher and give it to the school of their choice. They get these studies, school choice.
I understand
They
that.
say, on average, they outperform traditional public schools.
I think competition
and you would think,
will always
as
outbreed.
you're looking to go down to Springfield to represent the people of the Fox Valley.
Correct.
You're not down there just to represent you. What's good for you? You understand that?
I am here to be their voice. I am here to be their voice.
There may be people who think that their
misrepresent that.
education could be better if they had school of choice. They may not care about faith.
I
They should have
understand
the right to send their kids to the school of their choice, parochial or otherwise.
I understand that.
You agree with that, right?
I understand what you're saying.
Karen McConaughey, what does she say?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I
Teachers unions, are they supporting you? Probably not.
Probably not.
Are they supporting Karen McConaughey?
I would think that she's union supported, would be my guess.
We're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I very much want to thank our guest, Cliff Surges. Thank you so much for coming, Cliff.
Appreciate it.
This has been an enlightening show because we've illustrated a lot of things that are relevant, not just to the 33rd. So I promised, and so you folks, did we deliver? If you're watching the show and you don't live in the 33rd district, if you live in the 33rd, you certainly care about it because you care about this race. But if you're living in somewhere downstate, if you're living in Chicago, we're talking about pensions reform, tax reform, tax cuts. We're talking about education, school vouchers, school choice.
You got to get.
We're talking about Medicaid,
you got to get Medicaid in there.
Those are the big ticket reforms.
Those are the big ticket items.
And you're a believer in that, and so is Dan Proft.
Zero-based budgeting too.
Do you watch Dan Proft? Do you watch Bruce and Dan? I'm not watch. Do you listen to Bruce and Dan?
I listen when
every
I can.
morning in WLS. 9 to 11. Big 890. But when you can, you turn on that radio.
Absolutely. And we've met personally. We've met personally. We've had these discussions.
Now, is Bruce has Dan Proft endorsed you?
Not yet. No.
You think he might?
I'm hoping so.
What about Bruce Wolf? Have you met Bruce?
I've not.
You think he'll endorse you? You're hoping?
I would hope so. Yes.
You think they might endorse you over Karen McConaughey?
I don't know. It depends.
Karen, you better get on this show and you better get here because you could lose that endorsement. You lose that from Dan. I don't know. Can he do that legally? Will the station let him endorse candidates? Say that on the show?
That one I can't answer.
I don't know. We're going to find out.
I can't answer.
See, you stay tuned to
I
Public
will tell
Affairs.
you this. Dan is an extremely bright guy, and
so you need Medicaid reform.
He is a reason. We all, not me. We need Medicaid reform.
Well, we want to take care of these people. They're vulnerable. They don't have incomes. You don't want to just say you're out on the street, you don't get health care, right?
I think that we have an obligation.
You do want to say that?
We have an obligation to help the poorest segment of our society. The Medicaid program that we have now, we're not going to be able to achieve that.
It's going to go bankrupt.
It's going to go bankrupt.
Going to be out on the street.
But the reform is pretty easy.
Yeah?
The reform is easy. We need to make sure that we have a very set criteria of what it takes to get in, and then a system to double check it. You can't do, right now the notion that once you're in forever.
So we can do that. Just like American Express checks for fraud, that's the idea. And they say, get one of these companies that knows how to check for fraud.
Business 101 to say, we're into Medicaid, now we need to double check in 2 years. Do you still qualify to be
You know
here?
Business 101.
Business 101.
You're saying Karen McConaughey knows Government 101. They're different. Government 101
I think
Business 101?
in this particular case, they are absolutely
You know
different.
economics.
I don't know economics.
You don't know
I'm a small business owner.
Intuitively.
Intuitively, I can, yes.
You can only stay in business in American Family Insurance if you produce a product superior to your customers.
Absolutely.
If you produce an inferior product, what happens?
They're gone.
They go somewhere else.
They go someplace else. And that's Illinois right now.
Right.
And we need to change it.
People are voting with their feet.
We need to change it. Yes.
You tell me they prefer Indiana to Illinois?
I'm telling you.
They prefer Fort Wayne to Chicago to
Who is they? Are you telling me?
The people who are leaving? You're telling me that?
I'm telling you. You know what? I've seen two groups. I've seen the businesses that are saying, we'll relocate because that's the more profitable thing to do. I'm also telling you that I have seen many people.
The employees go.
The employees are going where the work is. But I also see residents saying, I would rather be a resident in Florida than continue my residency here because it's ridiculous. Enough is enough.
Yeah,
I mean, we need.
That's a winning slogan.
It's not just a slogan. It's what we need to do.